Today's edition of Draft Utopia. Chris Ransom, William Yanish here. I don't know if Joey's going to join, but I've got a one-round WNBA mock, and then we'll fire up the WNBA Draft Simulator. That is complete. That is done. That is officially at 60 players.
Nice.
Only 45 are going to get picked, and I'm going to be honest. William and I probably are only going to do the first round. We might do the second round if we feel like it, but we're probably only going to do the first round of the simulator. But yeah. You'll get the mock and the simulator, so for anyone bitching, you're getting both. Just be grateful you're getting both. Because there's only 15 picks in the WNBA draft. If this were like any of the men's sports leagues, NFL, NHL, where you had 30 to 32 teams, I don't know if we do both the mock and the simulator due to time constraints, William, you know?
Right. But this is Saturday morning, so I know personally I'm not messing with Chris, so I'll let you talk for a minute, and then I'll just join in. And
the good news is you are back on the clock in the group mock at 1:38. So I'm going to try to keep this show relatively short today because I've got a ton of write-ups I got to finish for next week's NFL mock, and I know there's people that are going to want to make picks in the group mock as well. So I am taking that into consideration. That's probably why.
Well, I've got picks 138 and 139 too,
and the Jets have 140. So yeah, the goal was to finish.
I have my guys picked out, so at least my part will go quickly.
Oh, you got to be freaking kidding me!
Oh no!
No, I hate when look. You don't X out of a site I'm using, Google. You never X out of a site I'm using by accident. You're a property. I'm a human being. You're a human doing, computer. That's your role. So I'm a human being. That's the most politically correct way I can put it.
That is, yeah, but very, very.
I really can't say anything further.
Yeah, well, that's a good lesson for Saturday mornings.
Yes. Ozzy Fudd's the only player that can defend and shoot at a high level in this WNBA draft, and she's Paige Becker's best friend. Paige Becker's went number 1 last year, so Ozzy Fudd for me probably will go number 1. But what's crazy about this WNBA draft, 4 of the top 13 scorers went undrafted. That is just unheard of. In any other sport, those athletes are first-round picks. 4 of the top 13 scorers, and they play on smaller schools, so that's why I don't think there's a lot of interest in them among scouts. Because they want the players at the Blue Bloods, UCLA, Connecticut, South Carolina, Tennessee, the Blue Blood schools. And on UCLA, they did win the women's title this year in basketball. Awa Pham, an international player, is projected to go second. She is a great shooter on tape, but she's raw as a defender. Needs to show more. But Minnesota, I think they're going to take her. Lauren Betts at 2. Olivia Miles should go 3rd. Miles would have been number 2 last year, but she came back to college. And Seattle will get her now. And then Lauren Betts, MVP of UCLA's March Madness run on Sunday. South Carolina lost by 36. It was ugly. UCLA beat South Carolina by 36. So, and I think Lauren Betts, this is the furthest she'd fall to. Flau'jae Johnson. They trade Flau'jae Johnson, Angel Reese's former teammate, goes to Angel's former team, the Chicago Sky, projected to go 5th. These expansion teams have their work cut out for them, William, because it's like you're an expansion team in basketball or hockey, you're ineligible for those lottery picks in the lottery drawing. Yeah. So you're stuck at 5 or 6, and you have to build your team from the ground up, and that is going to take time. That is literally the worst situation to be in. But Yarden Garzon really impressed me on tape. I know she's listed at like 14 or 15 in most mock drafts, but she hit over 40% of her threes last year. and she really impressed me on tape. So I've got her. You could make an argument that she might be a better value pick than Ozzy Fudd, but she's never played in a tournament game. I think that's why her value's a little bit down. Doesn't have a lot of experience in those big time playoff games, but yeah, if she goes to an expansion team where she can be the face of the team, she could be a very good value pick in this draft. And Kiki Rice, UCLA's best shooter at point guard, part of that national championship team that beat South Carolina on Sunday, goes to the Portland Fire. So we have the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire joining. Yeah. So those are the two teams.
Yeah. And that, never seeing them on the big stage thing is, something we talk about in football all the time. Some of these players coming out of North Dakota State, whether they're Trey Lance's little brother or even that tight end from Wyoming, John Michael Gillenborg. But I
feel like North Dakota State
watched
has emerged as a powerhouse at the FCS level, and everyone knows who they are. Everyone who watches college football knows who North Dakota State is. Everyone who watches college hockey knows where North Dakota is for
now
hockey.
We do. Now we know. And that's the thing, it's like growing up and watching these. You're talking about these expansion teams. I watched, the Carolina Panthers and Jacksonville Jaguars and Houston Texans and the second coming of the Cleveland Browns,
and only one of those
watch
teams
their
has
struggles.
made the Super Bowl, I believe, the Panthers. I don't think the other three have made the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, and Super Bowl 38. That was a great game, man.
And Super Bowl 50. Where Cam Newton was too much of a bum to recover the fumble. Sorry,
right. Oh man, no,
look, you won MVP.
I always give Cam
you earned it. I'm not criticizing you. You had a great year, but you could have shown a little bit more effort on that one play where you tried to recover the football. You dove on the ball and missed. That would have been better than just standing there and letting the defense recover the ball. It just looks so bad.
Oh yeah, and Coney Ely, I remember he was playing for the Panthers that Super Bowl, and if the Panthers would have won, he would have been, MVP. He had, I think, 3 sacks. I think there might have been a forced fumble in there too, but yeah, I remember that game and just what it was, and watching the Panthers just run into a buzzsaw of a defense, no fly zone, Denver Broncos. And anyway,
yeah,
I'll stop talking about football tie and everything to that. But, just explaining some of these things to the audience, I mean, it carries over no matter what sport we're in, whether it's the WNBA draft here or whether it's the NFL draft.
And you got the NHL draft lottery and Cinco de Mayo. I think the NBA draft lottery is a week later, but I think we're at the point where college basketball, men's and women's college basketball, is more popular than the NBA and WNBA. Because one, you got the bracket challenges in both sports, and two, it's just fun to scout athletes. So I've always liked college football over the NFL for that reason. Joey's an NFL guy, but I can tell you're a college guy based on the interactions we've had.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I grew up just loving the NFL and everything that it was, but when I started getting into scouting players, it was like, oh, hey, wait a minute, and so I mean, oh, I forgot what point I was going to make, but anyway, my brain isn't working. It's only like 8:30 in the morning.
Tania Latson goes to the Valkyries at 8. I've seen Latson in the top 5 of some WNBA mocks. she's good, but she's not a top 5 player. She does need to improve as a defender. UCLA also held her to 4 points in the championship game, so that's another thing we got to look at. UCLA, the team that won the entire tournament, they held her to 4 points. So if you're a borderline top 5 pick and UCLA holds you to 5 points in the national championship for women's basketball, that tells me you're a top 10 pick, but you're just not a top 5 pick. And that's okay.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I explain in scouting all the time is that, you know, I want to see all these kids do well. It doesn't matter if I say something bad about them, then it's probably something that they need to work on.
It's coaching. It's constructive feedback. It doesn't mean you suck. It means this is what you need to work on.
Well, yeah.
Go do
it. Some of these players, you know, if they get drafted
get your bag
in the third round, you know, Jalen Milroe getting drafted in the third round, you know, I mean, that puts on him, you know, none of those false expectations that can happen, like with Anthony Richardson. You know, I mean, Jalen Milroe's, I mean, one hell of an athlete compared to Anthony Richardson. And well, you know, I mean, but now he's got a chance to build, you know, and got Sam Darnold in front of him, and just gets to sit there and wait, see what happens. You know, I mean, he can easily become trade bait and coming up, and it's one of those things. So anyway.
Yep. And then Gabriella Jaquez, she led UCLA, I think, with 21 points in the championship game against South Carolina. I believe she will go 9th. The Mystics, they do need that small forward to round out the starting 5. But the Mystics have been looking at Betts, they've been looking at Jaquez, and they've been looking at the shooting guard Gianna Neepkins, possibly all as early as number 4. So I think the Mystics are going to just take players on UCLA. That's probably what most teams should do. But this is just a crazy year where, because there's not a big at center that can shoot and defend at a high level. And that's the biggest reason why this year's WNBA draft is considered weaker than the Caitlin Clark draft or the Paige Beckers draft. Next year's draft is supposed to be really top heavy, really deep as well. So those external factors, they definitely play a role. So I think, you know, we'll see what happens for sure. But yeah, I'm definitely looking at Jaquez. I think she's a good fit for the Mystics. That would complete their starting 5. The Mystics got Georgia Amore, Sonia Citron, and Ira Fan last year, and you add Jaquez and Betts, your starting 5 is ready to go. You're ready to compete for a playoff spot. Connie McMahon, she was Ohio State's small forward, but she transferred to full Ole Miss this year, and she had 19.5 points per game. And she defends really well. So hitting shots from long range is her weakness. Not a good three-point shooter, but when you have Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, you don't need to be a good three-point shooter. You just need to complement them as a role player. Mm-hmm. And if you're averaging 19.5 from short range and mid-range, and you've got 2 guards that can hit threes at will, you're good.
Yep.
You just need her to complement the stars on the team, and you got Aliyah Boston in the low post for short range. So
know your role. Know your role.
Know your role and complement the core players of the team in that role.
Exactly.
Man can do that in spades. So that's why I think that's the player to pick here.
Agreed.
And then we got number 11, Gianna Neepkins. I've seen Neepkins as early as number 5 in some mocks, but it's like, I don't know who's going to take her because she impressed me as a defender, but she didn't impress me as a shooter on tape. And her shooting mechanics, they're not always like straightforward. Sometimes she has this arch motion, or it looks like she's pushing the ball instead of aiming it. So that needs to get cleaned up. And I know she spent her first 4 years at Utah and won a championship as a graduate transfer. That's great. but the shooting mechanics still need to get cleaned up. That's why Neepkins needs to go to a team where she can start out as a bench player, get those mechanics cleaned up, and then maybe develop into a starter on another team after she gets some seasoning on the bench.
Yep.
And I do believe Neepkins is good enough to be a starter in the WNBA, but she's not going to start out as one until her shooting mechanics get fixed. And if she doesn't get her mechanics improved, I shouldn't say fixed, they're better than they were at the beginning of the year, but still, if she doesn't go to a team where she can improve that to maximize her ability, I don't know.
And well, any player, you know, with the draft coming up like that, should probably, you know, go out and get a coach. You know, some of these quarterbacks, it's what I see with them, you know, and go out and hire a personal quarterback coach, you know, somebody to work with them on their stuff, you know, with their timing, with their mechanics, whether it's a little hitch they have to learn to not, you know, take in their step or what, you know.
Yep, and then the Connecticut Sun, they finally make a pick at 12. This will be the last year of the Connecticut Sun. Notice I'm not wearing a Patriots jersey. I'm not singing na 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 a goodbye to the Sun. That'd be very classless.
We're not doing that. Just to be clear,
we are not doing that. The Connecticut Sun are going to be the Sun were bought by the Houston Comets. Remember, the Houston Comets won 4 WNBA titles in a row when the league was first formed in 1996. So the Comets are coming back, and the Houston Rockets owner bought the Connecticut Sun. They're relocating to Houston next season. So it sucks because Connecticut really doesn't have any professional sports teams. They have the Huskies for men's and women's basketball.
That's pretty much those might be professional sports teams. You know, just to consider that, you know, I mean, because it is UConn. I mean, that's what they are known for is college basketball. I mean,
yeah, both men's and women's. Gino Auriemma, Dan Hurley, now 3 and 4 years.
Oh, and Skylar Bell actually plays for them.
Skylar Bell plays football at Connecticut. Andre Blake, the goalie for the Philadelphia Union, drafted #1 overall in 2014 out of Connecticut. Connecticut had back-to-back #1 picks in the MLS draft. Kyle Larin in 2015, Andre Blake in 2014. So, next time you get an MLS draft trivia question at bar night, this college had back-to-back #1 picks in 2014 and 2015, Connecticut. So that's crazy, though, that with all the talent Connecticut's produced in basketball, they have not had back-to-back #1 picks in the NBA draft. They've had it in the WNBA draft and the MLS draft, but they've not had back-to-back #1 picks in the NBA draft. That's crazy, though, William, isn't it? With all the talent they've produced as a program in men's basketball.
Yeah, and I mean,
I think that says more about the coaching and the culture they've built.
Hopefully they just don't do something like the Cardinals did, you know, and draft Josh Rosen and then, you know, Kyler Murray and back to back.
Well, in college they'd be recruiting Josh Rosen, but the NIL money.
Yeah. You know, but Josh Rosen, he was a great college player. You know,
imagine if the QBs from the 2018 draft were in the NIL era. Rosen would be like, I'm working towards an MBA, so you're gonna have to pay me double what you pay your current quarterbacks, or I'm entering the portal.
You're right. Oh yeah, play the genius card. Go ahead, do that. Anyway.
All right. Medina Okot is a center. I'm not sure if the Connecticut Sun draft Medina Okot. I mean, they got Brittany Griner yesterday in free agency. Brittany Griner, the former Baylor center who led the Phoenix Mercury to a WNBA championship.
I heard my girl was a free agent. Not to cut you off, but Sophie Cunningham, you know, and I mean, so I'm just gonna have more jerseys to buy because you know I'm gonna start buying her jerseys instead of college football jerseys. So
yeah. Brittany Griner is on the Connecticut Sun. I don't know if she'll be on the Houston Comets next year, but if she's not, You could always groom Okot behind Griner for a year because Griner went number 1 overall in 2013. She's been in the W for 13 seasons, so it's like, yeah, she's probably not, and she signed a 1-year deal, so I don't think she'll be on the Connecticut Sun when they relocate to Houston.
Yeah.
Atlanta Dream, outside of Ryan Howard at shooting guard and Angel Reese, there's nothing there. And Angel Reese probably moves to center unless Atlanta brings some free agents back. But I'm going to keep Janiah Barker there. Janiah Barker. Tennessee had 0 players on their roster earlier this week. Isn't that crazy?
0.
That Tennessee Volunteers? Pat Summitt was once the face of Tennessee sports.
Yeah.
I mean, what the heck are we doing here?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Well, I guess it's easier to build a new culture when you have to build a whole new team.
Yeah, that's true. But NIL has ruined college sports. If a program that's a blue blood like Tennessee can't even keep their talent in the portal. But yeah, Seattle Storm, Ashlyn Jackson, friend of mine on Emmanuel Watson's TikTok feed was basically saying that Ashlyn Jackson's a sleeper of the draft. I agree she's good, but she struggled her first 2 seasons at Duke. She did not break out until her junior season, so she has 2 good years of tape. But outside of shooting, she doesn't bring much else to the table. That's why she's
like Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, pretty much.
2 years of whatever starting football and then 1 championship season.
Yeah.
1 good season. Or Joe Burrow. He did
and
that
Leila
too.
Lacan, their 2024 first-round pick, was an international player. So I think the Sun will grab an international player. And Ayanna Martin, the number 2 international player. Mariana Mabry did go to Toronto in the expansion draft. She played in Spain in international women's basketball tournaments. So there's that.
Nice.
All right, so that's the mock. I'm going to fire up the simulator here in a second. I'm going to fire up the simulator. I'm making sure. Wait, did I ever go live on TalkShoe? No, I did not. So, all right. I will quickly, welcome back to Draft Utopia on Restream. But yeah, we just went live. I forgot to go live on TalkShoe, so I'll quickly reread my top 12. I'm not going to do in-depth breakdowns like I just did with William, but I will quickly reread my top 12 picks, and then top 15 picks. I'll quickly reread. Ozzie Fudd goes to the Dallas Wings. Look, there's not a center that checks off every box in this draft. Fudd's the best shooter and defender. If you want a player that shoots and defends at a high level, you got to take Ozzie Fudd. Awa Pham, great shooter, but raw as a defender. Olivia Miles, pretty complete player, but I think the only team that may need a point guard is the Storm at 3. Lauren Betts, I do like Lauren Betts. She still has to fix her long range, but she's improved as a passer, improved her mid range, won a championship at UCLA as a senior. And Kiki Irefan, Lauren Betts, that combo in the front court is going to be a pain in the ass to game plan around. It's going to be tough to score on that combo. So I do think Flau-J Johnson, LSU shooting guard, I like her to Sky at 5. I talked about Yarden Garzon. One of my sleepers, can pretty much hit a shot. Undervalued asset, could be a steal if she goes to the expansion team. Portland Fire get Kiki Rice, the best shooter on UCLA, best passer on UCLA as well. Tanya Watson, who some have going 6th, goes to the Valkyrie at 8. Gabriella Jack has 21 points in the championship game. The Mystics get her as their final starter at 9. Cottie McMahon goes, Ole Miss small forward, goes 10th to the Fever. She complements Boston, Clark, and Mitchell. Gianna Neepkins, the shooting guard from UCLA, goes to the Mystics. Again, she's got to fix her shooting mechanics. Medina Okot, South Carolina center, I have her going to the Connecticut Sun. They did sign Brittany Griner, though, so they could address a different need. But if they do take Okot, despite signing Griner, the Okot's going to redshirt her first year. Janiah Barker goes to the Atlanta Dream. she would play power forward. Angel Reese can play all 5 positions, so Angel Reese would probably move to center. She was a power forward on the Sky, but I think she would move to center in this situation. Ashlyn Jackson out of Duke goes to Seattle Storm, but shooting's her main strength. And then Ayana Martin of Perfumas Avendera rounds out that top 15. So, yeah, that's pretty much the mock, and I don't know how long I've been live on TalkShoe, but that's a quick rundown of what I just went over on Restream.
Yep.
And I will be live on TalkShoe Monday for the WNBA draft as the picks come in. And I'll also be live. I can't forget. I should probably just go live right when it starts. I won't forget because it'll be the night of the draft. I forgot today, but this was just a rare. This was a rare lapse. I think I waited for William, then I was going to go live at both networks, and I just forgot to go live. It happens, the best of us, but with the draft starting at 7 on Monday, regardless of who else is here, I probably won't forget to do that. But yeah. All right. And then Saturday will be on TalkShoe as well because we've got the NFL draft preview next week. We've got the Stanley Cup and the NBA. TalkShoe's the only place where you will be able to get all of that because we're going to have 3 different streams. As Ron suggested, we're going to have an NHL stream, an NBA stream, and an NFL draft stream. And Joey's probably going to only be able to call into the NFL draft stream just due to time constraints, unless he calls in through the phone. Like, if he goes under Restream, that does drain his phone. Joey likes to go for runs in the morning, so it's like, it kind of... When he's here, but it's like, yeah, I haven't heard from him today. I'm not going to worry about it, so... Wait, why is my camera all messed up? Alright, so, whatever. And there we go. There we go. So that's the WNBA Draft Simulator. There's 45 picks in this year's draft, 60 teams. I put 48 teams, so all 45 picks would be shown. But yeah, I'm going to click on Make Selection for every team. And yep, here you can see our board. And after my lengthy breakdowns, William and I will take turns making some picks. If Joey calls in or whatever, he can make some picks too. But yeah, that's pretty much... I sent a message asking for the link. Oh, okay, Joey. Let me get... Hold on. Let me go back. I'm going to reset the simulator. Joey has asked for a link. So,
Perfect.
All right. Let me take care of Joey.
I was gonna say, I mean, even with him going for a jog, he can still be on the air. I mean, I would do it personally, but
well, that's the thing. I mean, he used to code with his site in Ohio. He didn't like that, and Florida changed him. Like, Florida made him want to do certain things. Okay. And here's the thing. I'm going to give Joey... There's 2 expansion teams. There's the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire. I'm going to give Joey the Toronto Tempo, and I'm going to give William the Fire. Because William talks about athletes needing to play with fire. Cam Ward, an example. So, yes, that's been decided.
Very much so.
Plus, I want to see how William and Joey build an expansion team from the ground up. Yeah. I'm genuinely curious, because I did an NFL expansion draft with Joey a few years ago on the podcast where I basically took a unprotected player from all 32 NFL teams and put them together on an expansion team. So, I've already done an expansion draft. I have. I've already done an expansion draft, so...
I like it.
I genuinely am...
Yeah, definitely one of the things that be looking for, starting in expansion draft would be the face of the franchise.
Yep.
I mean that should definitely bring a premium in
Okay,
this
so
situation.
let me take the link I just sent Joey, and he told me to send him the link on Facebook. So I will do that now.
Besides that, you'd have to have your cornerstones, whether they be your face or whether they are just solid players to put the best possible team on the field or court in this situation,
Yeah.
at the start. So there are definitely a few different things,
And for
a
everyone
few different
wondering
ways you
why
can
there
start
have
with.
been less episodes on Talk Shoe versus previous years, we want to get to 1,000 episodes on Talk Shoe. That's the goal. And that's why I've been very selective about what episodes we're going to put on Talk Shoe in this draft cycle versus putting every show up regardless. Because with Talk Shoe, we structure it, we format it so there's an exact number of episodes, whether that's 60 or 100 or whatever, 50 to 60 episodes a year. We structure it so there's an even amount. And if we're at 970 episodes in August, that means we really only get to put 30 episodes of our best content on TalkShoe. And over half of that's going to be draft content. So the other half, we have to be very selective about what football content we can put up. We can't just put up all the good content like we did at the beginning of the year. We put up the NFL season previews because I think people care about that. The quarterbacks, you know, so we did carefully pre-select what we think our audience wants. So
Yeah, and we have to save so many of those episodes for right now. With how the draft and the end of the draft is Christmas
one,
and the New Year to us folk in that work in this industry. I mean, Christmas and New Year to the regular
yeah,
people,
I hear you,
were a few
Joey.
months back.
You're on
Joey.
TalkShoe, correct? Yep. So Joey's on TalkShoe. Okay, I'm muted on TalkShoe. I don't know why I'm muted on TalkShoe, but
Oh man, yeah. I mean, everything
all right.
else happened with
Let
Talk
me
Shoe this
see.
morning. So
Let me zoom out. I'm gonna try to split screen my Restream tab and my TalkShoe tab so I can see what's going on in both tabs. Okay? Give me a second here. I'm trying to. I usually don't do two tabs at once, but I'm trying my very best here. Okay, so there's the WNBA draft, and now I just need the TalkShoe tab. Mike, all right, so let's see what's happening here. Hear me now, Joey? Or is TalkShoe just muting? Can you hear me now, Joey? You might be able to hear him. You might not, William, but I did fix my audio so you can hear me on both networks. And I've got both screens zoomed out so that, and this is the first time I've actually had both the TalkShoe and the Restream tabs separate. Because wait, if I make the tab too small yeah. that's a little bit problematic. But yes. All right. I don't want to close any tabs. All right, but yeah, let's jump into the WNBA Draft Simulator. Everyone's here. I'm going to give Joey the Toronto Tempo at 6. I'm going to give William the Portland Fire at 7, which means William's got 1, 4, 7, etc. I've got Joey's got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and I've got 2. All right, so William, you've got the first pick in the draft. Do you want Ozzy Fudd, or do you want to look at some of the other options? She's 73rd in scoring, I believe, but she's the only player that shoots and defends at a high level, and she's Paige Becker's best friend.
Yeah, and having those traits and those connections, I'll put it, make her as a possible, what I was just talking about, face of the franchise and cornerstone. And when it's kind of like in football, when the best player and need end up on the same player, because this is who I was just talking about, and she puts down those skills and then can be the face of it as well. So with consideration to the others, I definitely will be taking Fudd number 1.
All right, so Ozzy Fudd is number 1 in the draft. And then I've got number 2, the Minnesota Lynx. I did mock Awa Pham to Minnesota at 2 because I think that's the player the organization's going to take. But I'm actually going to pick Lauren Betts. Wait, what's going on in TalkShoe here? Why is the recording paused? Unable to start a recording while a previous video recording is processing. So I think we're still live on both TalkShoe and Restream. It's just yeah, we are. It's just like TalkShoe is very picky. It's like the thing with TalkShoe is I'd have to record from my phone instead of and I'm prepared to do that. I'm prepared to do that if this does X out on me again. I'm prepared to record on my phone on TalkShoe. So we will give TalkShoe on the computer one more try, and if that does not work, I'm probably going to go into TalkShoe. And Joey got disconnected, so yes. I don't know if William can still hear me, but yeah, it's like...
Oh, I definitely can. I'm just sitting back here and enjoying the show.
Can still hear me, but I don't know if Joe... Yeah, so William can still hear me on Restream. So TalkShoe's having some technical difficulties. Yeah, I'm gonna try to go into TalkShoe on my phone. This way, I can focus on Restream on the computer, and yeah, because if I can focus on Restream on my computer, we won't have this. Because usually I use the iPad for TalkShoe. Today I just figured I'd multitask, but Joey's having problems hearing me. But yeah, I'm just I'm seeing if I can get into TalkShoe on my phone. That way, I can just focus on Restream. And I want to get Joey back on the call. and I'm prepared to call Joey if that's what it's going to take, but TalkShoe's being slow on the phone, too. It's like... Loading time is... It does take forever to load TalkShoe, whether you're on your phone or your computer. Long loading times don't help, but... I'm going to try the iPad, because I think it's faster than the phone. I've got 76 seconds to make a pick. Auto draft's going to give me Awa Fam. Okay, finally, TalkShoe is finally loading on my phone. So...
Got to get down to the nitty gritty here, you know, and make that pick, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Run to that podium.
So I'm going to be joining TalkShoe on my phone.
Yes, it is.
And I'm going to X out TalkShoe on Restream because on my computer tab because, yeah. I just want TalkShoe to load on my phone. I don't care if it disconnects me on the computer. Because if I can get it on my phone or my iPad, the TalkShoe, the quality will still be good, you know? If I can get TalkShoe on my phone or my iPad, the quality will still be good. God damn, it's like testing the network. The loading time for TalkShoe is, I'm just going to join on my phone. That's exactly why I, all right. Okay, so we are live on the phone now. Good. All right. All right.
I like
good.
it the way I'm doing
Yeah,
it too,
do too,
because
but
now
yeah,
I can post. I can
Joey's
post
on the clock.
rage bait.
Auto draft gave me Awa Fam. I'm cool with that. I would have preferred bets, but I'm not going to be upset about it. I mocked Awa Fam to the links at 2. This is Joey's pick, assuming we get him back on TalkShoe.
He's got like just over 3 minutes, so 4 minutes or 6, 8, 12, 14, 72. Hot!
Yeah, but I've got TalkShoe on my phone now. I think Joey will hear me better on TalkShoe. And, oh, Joey's on Restream. Okay. All right. All right. Let me add Joey to the stream. Yeah, hey, Joey. Welcome in. I'm on TalkShoe. I've just figured out how to connect TalkShoe to my phone. So the audio's better on TalkShoe now that I'm on my phone, and you're on the clock with the Seattle Storm. You've got the third pick. Awa Fam is gone. Ozzie Fudd is gone. Everyone else is there. Olivia Miles, the former Notre Dame transfer to TCU, is the best player on the board. But if you don't want her, you could get Lauren Betts. I know the Storm took Dominique Malonga, the international superstar center, last year at number 2. But you do have the third pick, so I could pull up a position too if you'd like. If you don't like either of these 2 BPAs, I can pull up a position as well, or I can keep scrolling through the board. What do you want to do here at 3? And is your audio working? Are you feeling good?
Joey.
His mic's moving. He's not dead. He's breathing. I just don't know if he's doing CPR or he's doing something top secret in the background.
Nothing's
Top secret.
connected. Can't see anything. Can't.
We can hear you now.
That's why I moved TalkShoe to my phone, because I can hear. I'm sure I can hear myself better. I never have issues with TalkShoe when I'm on my phone, but I'm always on my computer.
So about this pick, anyways,
how much time does we have left to make this pick? 113 seconds. Okay. Olivia Miles is the consensus best player available at 3, and the Storm need help everywhere outside of center. They took Malanga last year, 2nd overall at center. But Miles and Lauren Betts at a UCLA are the top 2 best players available. So it is Joey's pick. Couldn't hear anything on TalkShoe, and Restream is breaking everything. Restream is breaking everything. But yeah, I could hear Joey. Who would you like to pick here at 3? Auto Draft's just going to give you Miles if you run out of time. But
I haven't really followed the WNBA or women's college basketball, so I mean, just
best player.
give me full.
All right. Bud's gone. William took her.
Okay.
Number 1, baby.
So,
I do
whatever.
like Yarden Garzon. She's the closest thing to Ozzy Fudd, and I have her at 6. Would you like her?
Sure.
All right, so the Storm get Yarden Garzon, 3rd overall, our first surprise of the draft. Yeah, I mean, I could draft Olivia Miles to pair with Georgia Moore. Didn't play last year. She was the Mystics' first-round pick, but she's coming off a season-ending injury. I think this is Williams' pick. Okay, this is Williams' pick. This is not my pick. This is Williams' pick. All right, But yeah, I think William is going to pick Lauren Betts at 4, but if he wants to go a different route, he can explore that as well. Could also go Olivia Miles if he doesn't trust Georgia Moore's injury history too. So Williams got a big decision at 4.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing that I talk about a lot, with players like, Michael Penix and Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels just plays like he's going to get hurt. And then he folds, his elbow back, and it looks like his elbow was giving birth at that time, but besides that, I'm not too, or to say that I'm not too high on people's injury, but I do like Lauren Betts here, and I think she will definitely be my pick, and will help this team into the future. And, obviously Olivia Miles following a little bit.
And I know I'm picking Olivia Miles at 5. This is my pick, but
too
this
much
is a
value
dream
right
scenario. This is a dream scenario for the Chicago Sky after they traded Angel Reese to Atlanta for 2 first-round picks earlier this week.
Yeah, and this brings all that back. It's just so much value. So
that was a very easy pick for me to make. Joey's back up at 6. He's got the Toronto Tempo. Williams got the Portland Fire. I gave Joey and William the 2 expansion teams because I want to see how they build an expansion team from the ground up. I really want to see. I did the NFL expansion draft a few years ago where I was literally drafting for an expansion team from all 32 NFL teams. So I've done an expansion team challenge. Joey and William, they get their first expansion team challenge today. And Joey, the Toronto Tempo at 6. Kiki Rice was the best shooter on UCLA.
I get my first taste of it without knowing anything about what I'm doing. So that's wonderful. I don't know who any of these people are.
Well, UCLA beat South Carolina to win the women's basketball championship. Kiki Rice was the best shooter on UCLA. Workaholic.
Okay, then give him Kiki Rice.
Kiki Rice is a member of the Tempo, and that is a great pick. That's a great building block for an expansion team. They got Mariana Mabry, but Mabry and Rice can compete, and I think Rice is good enough to beat out Mabry for the point guard job.
I don't know who that is either.
Yeah. Well, just a really good point guard that's averaged over 10 points a game. But yeah, Portland Fire at number 7, William. Do you want either of these shooting guards, or you want me to look at a different position?
Oh, let's see what we got here. LSU.
South Carolina.
Oh, LSU and South Carolina. Yeah, I'll definitely take Johnson there from
Wow, J.
number 5.
Johnson, a consensus top 5 pick. Can never
Being,
go wrong with that.
yeah, and that's just yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Golden State Valkyries, they hit on their 3rd round pick, but they didn't sign their 1st round pick, and they cut Cheyenne Sellers. So I really don't know what to think of the Valkyries. But yeah, I'm going to go with Tania Latson here at 8. I mocked her to the Valkyries at 8. So, Joey's on the clock with the Mystics at 9. Really, they're only remaining, or Joey's on the clock at 9. So, because the Mystics, their only needs a small forward, and the top 2 players on the board, Jack has 21 points in the championship against South Carolina, and Cottie McMahon, who left Ohio State to go to Ole Miss. Not a good 3-point shooter, but she defends well. She's a better defender than Jaquez. Jaquez is a better, more complete shooter, but McMahon's the more complete defender. But, it's Joey's pick at 9, and you thinking Jaquez, you thinking McMahon.
What team
the
is
Mystics. They drafted really well last year. They got Georgia Amore, Sonia Citron, and Kiki Irafan in last year's draft that we streamed together, and that turned out to be a really good draft for the Mystics.
Yeah, that was a good draft.
And William gave them Lauren Betts at 4, so you just have to add the final piece to the puzzle. The question is, do you think Jaquez or McMahon helps you more now? Because Jaquez had 21 points in UCLA's championship win over South Carolina on Sunday to win the women's title. So,
I think it all really depends on the philosophy. If you're looking to outscore everybody,
yeah, because McMahon's the better defender, but Jaquez is the better 3-point shooter. So that's what makes this even trickier.
Yeah. And it is a tricky situation because of the way they built their team.
I agree.
And
if Joey wants a different position besides small forward here, I could do that, but that's literally the only position left that the Mystics need to fill out their lineup with. And if he wants a different position, I can always give him a small forward at 11. So that's the great thing about the Mystics is they got 3 first-round picks, 4, 9, and 11. So, yeah.
Well, their point guard's pretty good at driving, so the driving kick would be better off with Jaquez. So I'm going to give him Jaquez.
Fair enough. And Williams back on the board at 10. The Indiana Fever, they've got stability at both guard spots with Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark, and they got Elia Boston at center. So they just need to take the best forward on their board. Cottie McMahon, 19.5 points a game, great role player, and that is a player that complements them well. But I'll pull up the power forwards. That you got Barker as well.
Tell me about Nepkins there.
Nepkins, she is a shooting guard. But if Kelsey Mitchell leaves and Caitlin Clark gets a max contract, she could be a player you develop for a year off the bench under Mitchell, and then maybe when Mitchell leaves, she takes over.
Yeah. I mean, being on that stage at UCLA, did so well this year. I think I would definitely like to make her my pick right now.
Before I lock that in, I want to see the terms of Kelsey Mitchell's contract. Fair? Because Kelsey Mitchell is she's been the Fever's 1-year deal. So Kelsey Mitchell agreed to a 1-year deal, and Caitlin Clark is eligible for an extension next year. So that tells me Mitchell's staying 1 more year to try to win a championship with Clark, and if they don't get it done, she probably goes elsewhere, and Clark becomes Clark's already the face of the team, but Clark becomes the de facto scorer and playmaker, and Neekins would complement Clark well. All right, number 11. I'm up. I could pick. Neekins was my plan at 11, so I mean, I am gonna do something crazy, Joey. There are 4 players that average 20 points a game at small schools, and none of them are projected to get drafted. So since the Mystics have all their starting needs filled, I am going to draft one of those players at 11 simply for the hell of it. Simply so I could say I was the first to make a shot pick. So
I like it.
We're going down, down, down. Mia Nicastro. She had 21 of Western Illinois' 51 points in the tournament loss to North Carolina. 21 of the 51 points that Western Illinois got in their loss to North Carolina came from Mia Nicastro. Mia Nicastro, you are a Mystic, and I don't know why WNBA teams have her going undrafted. She was 4th in the country in scoring in Western Illinois. That's a first-round prospect. Boom!
Yeah. I don't know why you're excited. You're the one getting low on with me and William.
I'm getting low. Do you want Flo Rida to give you a TED Talk, Joey? Do you want Flo Rida to give you a TED Talk?
Better than you getting low on me and William.
That's true. At least when he gets low, it's entertaining because he's a rapper.
Well, man, this is Draft Utopia, man. You know, I mean,
it's the utopia of sports, not the utopia of rap music.
We can't do things like other people because we're not other people, man. We're just not other people.
We're just not other people. But yeah, Mia Nicastro of Western Illinois makes the first round of this simulator just because.
Chris, just don't start twerking.
I'm not going to twerk. I'm simply saying Mia Nicastro. Western Illinois is a first-round pick in our simulation. Western Illinois is on the map. And that'd be great for Western Illinois' athletic program for them to get a first-round pick.
I've been to Western Illinois, and, well, I'm not saying the school or anything, but actually, you know, physically Western Illinois, and, man, that is a boring place. And they definitely need some culture there from somewhere, you know. I mean, so, yeah, please help them out, man. They need help.
Connecticut Sun. The Connecticut Sun are going to be the Houston Comets next year because the Rockets owner bought the Connecticut Sun. But so Joey has picks 12 and 15, which means he gets to make both picks for the Connecticut Sun, the final players in Connecticut Sun history. So
this is interesting because you're basically restarting the franchise from scratch. So how do you want to restart your franchise?
And they got Brittany Griner, so you don't have to draft a center. Brittany Griner is signed a contract.
They just gave her an extension.
Yeah.
So you don't need a power forward or center. I'd go Cotty McMahon.
19.5 points per game at Ole Miss. Not a great three-point shooter, but an excellent defender.
Yeah, so you take her, compliments Griner, and now you've got the big center of your franchise right there. You know, two defenders who can score.
Medina Okot complements Angel Reese very well. I mean, Angel Reese is a power forward, but she can play all 5 positions in the court. But Okot, 6'6" center out of South Carolina, she complements Angel Reese very well, and you've got a really good shooting guard.
And that was a trade with Angel Reese I didn't like, but I could understand because you got somebody like Angel Reese, she's got some attitude, but at the same time, she is a very good player, but you're getting all these draft picks for the
Well,
next
the
2
Chicago
years. So
Sky
I can
don't even own their
understand
own
the
first-round pick next year. The Sky don't own their first-round pick this year, and the Washington Mystics have a pick swap option with the Sky in 2027, Joey. So
Yeah,
if
so
the
I can
Sky ends up
understand.
sucking, the Mystics could get the number 1 pick next year. That's why the Sky made this trade. And the next two WNBA drafts are reportedly better at the top than this year's class. So
Yeah, so
that's
I
why
can understand why they did it. I don't like it. I don't think it was the right trade, but I can understand the thought process.
I would have done it if they had given me three first-round picks, but 2 I probably hold on to Reese.
Yeah, but at least we can understand what they were thinking.
Mm-hmm. Neither Joey or I agree with the Fire's thought process, but we both understand what they were thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the Atlanta Dream are on the clock. This is Williams' pick. Oh. This is Williams' pick. I'm guessing he's going to pick Okot here because we talked about Reese and we talked about there's Riss Holland, their former number 1 pick at shooting guard. So they have 2 building blocks.
Yeah.
I think Joey and I, we talked you into Okot.
Oh, very much. And, being a center. Having
you get Okot now, the Dream,
the versatility. I feel that's a player that can play a few different positions like you're talking, and kind of solidify something to where you can put the best players on the court. At the same time, you just have to figure out where they're going to line up, for a position, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, it can easily be done.
Basketball is unique, and we talk about versatility in football, baseball, and everything else, but basketball, it's like,
but it's different.
It's like you can go back to the 80s and look at Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. They're playing 3 or 4 different positions. You look here, and you got people who can play 3 and 4 different positions. So versatility in the NBA takes on a whole NBA, WNBA, basketball in general takes on a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a point that I was going to bring up this morning. That kept tripping in my brain, and I love that you bring that up because now I know where your thought process was. So I like it.
I'm on the clock. I know who I'm going to pick, but Joey and William were having a very good conversation, so I wanted to wait to announce my pick, build up the suspense a little bit. What? Sometimes like Joey left the air. He tells me I need to let him and William finish the conversation he's having, and I let you guys do
look
that.
At it. And versatility.
I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go. All right.
Whoa, that's weird, man.
I'm gonna take Ashlyn Jackson at 14. She complements Olivia Miles very well. One person on Emmanuel Watson's podcast called Ashlyn Jackson, the sleeper of this draft. And I think she fits more of a need than Barker does. But yeah, Joey's got the Connecticut Sun's last pick, and she can choose between an international player. They did take an international player back in the 2024 draft, and it worked out for the Sun. So you've got your choice between Barker or an international player, or I can pull up some prospects outside of the first round if you would like to make a shock value pick as well. I mean, Tennessee got hit hard in the transfer portal. There were 0 players in the Lady Vols roster. But they did pick up the 20-point freshman from Northern Arizona in the portal. That's like their building block for now. But yeah, Joey's got this last pick here. And then if we do rounds 2, because I'm going to let Joey and William decide if we do rounds 2 and 3. If we don't, I'm just going to hit auto draft and see what happens for the heck of it. Because
Yeah, I'm not sure where Joey went, but yeah, seeing Ivana Martin here, or Ayana
Joey's
Martin.
here. He just disconnected on Restream.
Wow,
He's here.
Gotcha.
He didn't go anywhere.
Cool.
And who did I take for him at 12?
You got
Well, the position anyway.
small forward Cotty McMahon. So you got Cotty McMahon and Brittany Griner. You got a power forward and you got a point guard here. And they do have a good shooting guard because Connecticut Sun, they got the shooting guard in the 2024 draft from overseas, and she's ended up becoming a good player. So you've got a center, you've got a small forward, you've got a shooting guard. You can't really go wrong.
I'm going Janae Barker.
Right.
I want Barker because if Griner has a running mate down low, that could be lethal.
I agree. And that's a great pick. Very dominant front court. We've got round 2 here. The WNBA drafts 3 rounds. I'm only going to be posting grades for the first round, but I will have the simulator up for rounds 2 and 3 just in case I get through all 12 of my first round grades. But yeah, and I know the WNBA draft live streams, I've done them the last 2 years. Joey's joined me. We've broken down some players, had some fun. Joey will probably be busy on Monday, but yeah, Monday at 7 is the official WNBA draft on ESPN. But yeah, the Storm from the Wings. William, would you like to make this pick, or do you just want to auto pick and see how the rest of this draft plays out? Because I've given Joey and William the option of if they don't want to do all 3 rounds, what we could do instead after the first round is do auto pick. I'm going to let them, because we both got stuff we need to do. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I got the 7-round mock. I got an update on Draft Utopia, and William wants to make picks in the group mock. So, we are going to show all the players that get picked in the simulator, but I am giving William and Joey the option of, it's the 2nd and 3rd round. There's not as much appeal to it, so let's just auto draft versus. But if they want to make picks, they can.
Well, the WNBA, as much as the WNBA's grown, it's still not what it needs to be to really justify
thrive as a business.
Throwing 2nd, 3rd round people into it, unless it's like, middle of the 2nd round, like a deep draft, middle of the 2nd round, but not a full 2nd, 3rd round. Like, it's still not.
So Joey's saying auto draft. William, what do you want to do?
Yeah, we can definitely auto draft. I would actually like to make Martin that last pick, and then you can hit auto draft.
So
that works.
William gets Ayana Martin. Since William made a last,
I had to.
Since William made a last pick, I am making a last pick, and I'm going to go with Neil Angloma, who I have going in the top of the round 2 to Seattle. So the 2 international players are going to come off the board. Joey is going to. Would you want to make? Nope.
I'll make a last pick since you guys are making a last pick. And like, who do I got? Who's on that team? And so on and so forth.
The Connecticut Sun did lose Mabry in the expansion draft to the Toronto Tempo, so you could replace her with Raven Johnson at point guard, since Mabry was Connecticut's point guard last year. Or you got someone else in mind? Because Raven Johnson, Manuel Watson's friend has Raven Johnson at 6. Raven Johnson, I've seen her as high as 6 in my friend's mock for the WNBA. My friend had Raven Johnson going 6th in the W.
Well, who's below her? Right.
Marta Suarez. She's a small forward. And you drafted Cotty McMahon, who's a better player than Suarez.
Yeah. Keep going down.
All right.
Got to be more than 2 players in the 2nd round, or else it doesn't work.
Tony Morgan, Tawny Morgan, Kentucky point guard. You've got Layla Felia, Syracuse. Megan Dugan from Richmond. Reagan Beers, a 6'4" center. She could play behind Griner for a year and take over if Griner does not re-sign with the Connecticut Sun after this season, because Griner signed a 1-year deal. So you could have Beers as a backup to Griner for a year, and then she becomes the main center if Griner leaves.
Next.
Little Page Bugs, Grace Van Sluten, power forward Justin
What's
Pissott.
Paige Van Sluten? What position is she?
Who? Pissott, small forward.
Van Sluten.
Van Sluten's a shooting guard. No, she's a power forward.
Okay, give me Van Sluten.
All right. Oops. Van Sluten's a Spartan.
Now they got their forwards up. They got their, a couple of their skill positions going. So, okay.
And Raven Johnson's a mystic. Raven Johnson's a mystic. I will make one more pick since the LA Sparks are my favorite WNBA team, but I promise you this is the last pick I'm going to make.
Favoritism.
So, Sparks need a shooting guard. Layla Felia out of Syracuse. Love this player. This is the player the LA Sparks are getting at 20. And I'm guessing we're going to be hitting auto draft from this point forward. So Suarez ends up on the Suarez, and this is pretty much what we're doing from here on out. Tony Morgan ends up on auto draft. Maggie Dugan's a Golden State Valkyrie. The Sparks get Reagan Beers as a backup to Cameron Brink. Or not Cameron Brink, or is it Cameron Brink, the former Stanford center that the guy for the Sparks took 2 years ago? Maybe, yeah, it is Cameron Brink. So Reagan Beers ends up as a backup. Little Page Bugs ends up on the Fever. Is that second starting power forward. Stuelke was a freshman when Caitlin Clark was there on the Tempo. Pissott ends up on the Mercury. The Las Vegas Aces get Peyton Verhulst. Seems like a player Becky Hammond would enjoy coaching. Cara Dunn is a Mystic. And the Dallas Wings. My friend Brian Sweet is a Dallas Wings fan, so he's getting Rory Harmon at 31. Back to auto draft, though. I get the Colorado power forward that we have a second-round grade on. Lager Walker, senior on UCLA, goes to the Connecticut Sun round 3. Sarah Williams, who some have going in the first round, ends up on the Mystics as a depth piece. UCLA's backup power forward ends up on the Sky. Mika Gray ends up on the Tempo. Yeah, Paris Atkins averaged 20 points a game at Florida International. She is a small forward, and she ends up on the New York Liberty at 41. She's one of the gems I found in this draft from smaller schools. Phoenix Mercury, Adriana Smith from Maine, another player who was in the top 10 in points per game this season with the Maine Black Bears. So, yep, she gets drafted. Look, if you're averaging 20 points a game and you play for a smaller school, I'm going to find you and I'm going to put you in the simulator somewhere. Maybe you're not a first-round pick.
That will happen.
But it's like to say there are 45 players in this draft that are better than a top 10 scorer averaging 20 points per game. I can't do that. I do not have the integrity to do that. Or the lack of integrity to do that.
It's one of those things to where, from the beginning, I've always stated that, I dig up diamonds and,
yeah, and I was going through a fan site as well, mock, and they didn't have any players from any small schools, mainly. And I was like, there's got to be some players on some smaller schools that were in the top 10 in points.
Well, see, that's the thing, man. But all sports media gets behind whoever has the most money, and it's like, it's just dumb. You know, I mean,
a bench player at Connecticut that averages 7 points a game is more valuable than a starter at Maine
it's like
that averages
Skylar
20
Bell,
points
man.
a game. That's NIL in a nutshell, William.
It's like Skylar Bell, man. He plays for UConn, but he plays football at UConn, and dude, he is the best kept secret of this draft. You know,
He is. I've got him at 60
I
for a
love
reason.
him, dude.
Yeah,
You know,
same.
I mean, he is a great player. He's very, very versatile. There is a bunch of Deebo Samuel wannabes coming out, and Skylar Bell might be the best of them. I mean, watching his film
Yeah.
is
There's a reason I've got him at 60
Yeah.
on our draft simulator.
Yeah, and
Got him in the late second.
CBS literally has him at what, 150 something or
Eric Galko
whatever I
raved about
showed
him at the
you,
Shrine
and I
Bowl
mean,
this year. Skylar Bell.
yeah,
So
and I
like-
mean, this kid is.
CBS doesn't even go
What
to
do you
the
say about
All-Star
Falco?
games,
Are
William.
we
I'm
doing
gonna let you
replacements
know-
here?
Skylar Bell. William and I are
I
talking
heard
about
Falco.
Skylar Bell. But here,
Oh, I thought I heard
Here's
Falco,
the
and I'm
thing.
like, the replacements? It's like,
Galco.
Oh,
Galco,
like Shane.
Galco, not Falco, Joey. Galco. Eric Galco. He runs the Shrine Bowl. But I'm going to let William in on a little secret.
oh,
CBS does not send
Like,
any of their
I-
scouts to either of the All-Star games. They don't send their scouts to the Senior Bowl.
and that
they don't
sucks,
send
man.
their scouts to the Shrine Bowl.
They don't have
that
scouts,
sucks.
man.
It's like
Hey,
they could
they
at least
don't
hire
have
Falco
scouts,
to
man.
go to one of the games and tell him what he sees. You know,
They don't have scouts.
You know,
They don't
those
have
two are like
scouts.
kindred spirits. They
They
should
are
have a natural
paid.
connection.
their
Yeah,
scouts.
ESPN at least sent Todd McShay to the Senior Bowl every year. I don't like ESPN's
but-
draft coverage, but at least they sent someone to Mobile to cover the Senior Bowl. CBS isn't sending anybody to Mobile.
Yeah,
So
but
that says
here's the
everything
thing.
about CBS's credibility.
it's terrible, man.
I'm
And
gonna.
it's because they don't have any scouts, man. That is
They
the
used
problem.
to be. They used to
Their-
have Rob
their
Rang
scouts-
and Dane Brugler
their
back
scout-
in the day.
Their scouts
Okay.
are their accountants now at the bank, and that's it.
It's like
And it's
Brugler's with the Athletic now. I mean,
Yeah, and
yeah,
Rob
he's
Rang's
doing
with
some
Fox
really good
Sports
stuff
now.
there.
But back in the day, you had Dane Brugler and Rob Rang both at CBS, and Rob Rang's now,
Yeah.
I think, a high
Yeah.
school teacher who is on Fox Sports in his free time.
Yeah, and here's something I've noticed. Something I've noticed is that when these guys leave the big companies, outside of Mel Kiper, who they're not going to tell to say anything, Mel Kiper is Mel Kiper, but everybody else who leaves, they suddenly become better. Why is that? Because they don't have to deal with as many narratives or stuff. They have a little bit of freedom. They don't have these producers telling them what to do and what to say and how to think. So it's like
Yeah,
even Todd
but
McShay, when he first left, I was like,
all right.
damn, I've hated on McShay for years, but he actually might know a couple things. And it's
Yeah,
like,
and he's working for Bill
you know-
Simmons at a great Bill Simmons. What's the company Bill Simmons started after Grantland or?
I like Bill Simmons. He's old school as hell. I love Bill Simmons.
So Bill Simmons' company, I think Grantland. I don't know the name of it, but McShay's the draft expert at Bill Simmons' company. I think it's Grantland.
Mel Kiper for years would only get 1 or 2 draft picks correct. I mean, this goes back years, and I know this because I've watched the thing unfold, and I'm still waiting for him to retire because Jimmy Clausen, isn't a star quarterback, and that was simply because it wasn't Jimmy Clausen's
I remember
physical
all the Matt
traits. It wasn't Jimmy Clausen's, I mean, what he did on the football field. It was that no one wanted to follow Jimmy Clausen because he was a arrogant, cocky little punk. And besides that, he had a golden arm. He could play football.
I
Like
remember
none
the
other.
thread back in the day. Matt McGuire, he basically posted a thread on the Walter football forums back in the day. Jimmy Clausen, he didn't have a hot girlfriend.
Okay.
A quarterback without a hot girlfriend.
Okay.
And it was
so
just a very
bring that shit up.
sexist
to put
thread.
this into
It's
context.
2010. Forums are popular.
Hey, so to put this into context, I have an autographed Jimmy Clausen jersey around here someplace. number 2 for
You
the
should send it to
Carolina
Mel
Panthers.
Kiper. Mel Kiper.
Someplace,
I wear it, man.
really?
I wear it.
Someplace?
Oh no, someplace. Oh, actually,
Someplace.
someplace.
Because Mel Kiper
someplace.
said he was going to retire if Jimmy Clausen failed.
So
Well,
anyway, but my point, what I was getting to with Mel Kiper, is that he is only has to do with money anyway, because it comes down to this draft and him trying to say that Fernando Mendoza is the best player in this draft on his board, and I'm calling bullshit on that, dude. You know, I mean, it's like Mel Kiper when they pulled one of Daniel Kelly's comments off of there from First Round Mock, and Mel Kiper was absolutely mad about it because he was saying that Shadur Sanders is a bust, and I mean, Mel Kiper was actually mad over it, in stating that,
they have to think about how Mel Kiper does it. Mel Kiper has admitted he really doesn't watch a lot of college football. He is a pro scout at heart. He scouts the professionals and puts the best college player with where he feels fits. Now, the problem is, I think, is that the pro game is starting to pass him by. And it's been passing by a little more every year for a few years. And if you are basing your analysis on the pro game and what people need rather than the skills of the prospects, you have to be up to date and up to how the pro game's going. And I think he's starting to, well, I completely agree with him about Shadur. I disagree with him about a lot of different things that he has done. And that's because Shadur is, I think he has a kinship with Shadur because Shadur is more of a traditional quarterback. So that fits into his narrative where some of these newer guys are like, you know, he's like, I don't see how they fit into.
To bring this up now, because we were just talking about, I don't think it, I really don't think you were on air, but we were just talking about how oh man, sorry, my brain isn't working this morning.
No, because there was a point.
Drink a monster. You need a monster.
Well,
not one, two. Gotta drink two.
To come from what you're seeing in the pro game, you know, I mean, I was NFL at heart growing up. You know, I wasn't so much into college sports until I started seeing some of these kids and who they were. And if you're looking at it from a pro game, you know, there's absolutely a way to do that, but not the way Kiper is doing this. You know, I mean,
Kiper's doing it the way he would have done it 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. He
May I
has
say
not
something
updated
briefly here
to
about
what
this
it is
whole
now.
draft prospectus with Shadur Sanders? Because Shadur didn't go day one. The Steelers originally were going to pick him in round 2. And then Donald Trump made the comments about how Shadur Sanders was going to get drafted. I think that caused Shadur to fall to day 3. When Trump tweeted that, teams basically said, yeah, we're not taking Shadur on day 3.
So just to be clear on the whole Shadur thing,
that was satire.
I had a 5th round grade on him, but I didn't think that they would actually do it. You know, I mean, I didn't think the NFL would actually, you know, draft him in the 5th round.
And then
but I mean, that's where his skills were. If his name wasn't, you know, Sanders, we wouldn't even be talking about him.
And after Trump,
I think we would. I've just been maybe that's just because I've been watching tape.
I had a 2nd round grade on Shadur Sanders, but once the Trump tweet came out, I heard the Steelers bumping down to round 3. And then once Aaron Rodgers said he was not going to sign with the Steelers if they drafted Shedeur, the Steelers basically said, all right, we're going to move him down to day 3.
Okay,
and
forget that idea. We want the
the
Rodgers.
Trump, William, I know you weren't here at the time, but a few years ago, Trump started sending out tweets about NFL prospects, and things went all to hell. And ever since then, because we made fun of it that one time, and ever since then, Chris will not let that satire go. Every time Trump says something, it is just the exact opposite has to happen, or a disaster.
Okay, but Trump could cure cancer, and people would go against him. And I mean, just to put that in clarity,
I didn't know Trump was a chemist, so I would be quite impressed with that.
And if you want more, you want a
why
more
would you have to be a chemist?
education
I mean,
on Donald Trump is an owner in the owning a football team. You can watch Small Potatoes Who Killed the USFL. It's an ESPN 30 for 30 where Donald Trump. They talk about how Donald Trump ruined the USFL.
Hey, I can cure cancer. Okay, you know, just give me enough tequila and whiskey.
You know what ruined?
You know
what ruined? You know what ruined the USFL is the NFL and the fact that nobody wanted to watch that shit, and the NFL was going to make sure of that because they are a bunch of spoiled billionaires that 61% of their revenue comes from ticket sales and merchandising and all of that. And I mean, it's like some of these teams that just go out there, like the Jets and the Browns and the Redskins, and they've had how many starting quarterbacks in the last 20 years, and to put a new quarterback at the helm and get those jersey sales and generate that kind of revenue. I mean, some of these teams don't want to win. They just want to sit back and play patsy to the teams that actually want to win or have the owners that have enough clout. And I mean, that I shouldn't probably be saying that out loud because I mean, that's like
I will say this to you, William, and as far as the USFL goes, it's the whole thing of they had to combine with the XFL, the new XFL, the one that actually had some promise, combine with that and move so far away from the NFL that they had their own section cut out to where they're competing with a declining Major League Baseball situation rather than any other football league. Just they're not competing with the NCAA. They're not competing with the NFL. They are NFL.
Well, no one competes with the NFL, man. No one competes with the NFL. And these owners only let in who they want to let in. And they do their thing. They have a pecking order. And they have, I mean, it runs all the way from these sports books and everything, to what they're doing with these players. And then ESPN, builds up the hype and they go after the money, but by saying these other quarterbacks are first round worthy. But, I mean, it comes down to the difference between the money that was behind Anthony Richardson and the money that was behind Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe, was 10 times the quarterback that Anthony Richardson was, and college quarterback. And Richardson did absolutely nothing. He can't read a defense for anything. He steps back trying to find the open receiver and then chucks it downfield. And it's like, dude, obviously, it's like what happened in Indy, with Daniel Jones and him just walking in there and taking that job, because of that. But they had Anthony Richardson hyped up all the way to where he gets taken at number 4 overall. You know, Jalen Milroe, you know, doesn't have an injury history. I mean, is absolutely the best athlete on the field when he steps on any given field, you know, and then all of a sudden he's taken in the 3rd round, and it's like, dude, you know, I mean, obviously they just didn't hype him up. He wasn't part of sports media plan, you know, and that goes to, you know, putting the asses in the seats, you know, to pay for all this.
Grace Sullivan,
you know?
and Peyton McDaniel were the last 2 picks in the WNBA draft, but it's right. A lot of these owners, they just want one thing: money.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending cycle of money.
Yeah. You know, and Jalen Milroe now has a chance.
Jalen Milroe now has more Super Bowl rings than any quarterback in the 2025 draft.
Yeah. And Anthony Richardson will never live down the fact that he was drafted number 4 overall.
The Colts, I heard the Colts had him at 1 on their board. Like, each of the teams got the number 1 quarterback on their board in 2023. The Panthers had Young at 1, Texans had Stroud at 1, and the Colts had Richardson at 1.
Half of the Panthers had Young at 1, and
the other
bigger
half at 1.
Yeah, the bigger half had Young at 1.
But Dave Tepper had Bryce Young at 1, so he was the de facto tiebreaker.
Well, Bryce Young is just that. You know, I had a 3rd round grade on him, and he is falling right in line with what I said about him, because the noodle for an arm, the fact that he has a body of a 15-year-old boy, you know, I mean, I wasn't that high on CJ Stroud, but CJ Stroud became that de facto number 1 because there wasn't anybody else that was that good. Jake Hayner was my number 2 quarterback.
Now the backup to Bryce Young, and the Panthers took Haynes King in our group mock. Haynes King. So that's your quarterback room in Carolina. That's not.
And Haynes King is Riley Leonard all over again, just like I was telling you the other day, man. You know,
the Panthers are
all
bringing
legs
quarterbacks that are going to push
and a sporadic arm.
They're bringing in quarterbacks that are going to fall in line behind Bryce Young, and that's not how you create success in your quarterback room. That's how you set your room back.
No, you can build competition there regardless, but you have to have quality competition to do that. And some of these hyped up players
backups that are going to fall in line behind Bryce Young.
Exactly.
Andy Dalton was a guy who wouldn't necessarily take Bryce Young's job, but he would at least push him, elevate him, and now he's in the Eagles.
Yeah, you can build competition, you know, in a room, and without destroying it, you know, to make everyone better. And that was one thing that Josh McCown was always good at, because he was a quarterback that was good enough to come in and fix these rookies to make them better. And that's why he's a coach now. And he was on the wrong side of that Stroud Young debate with Carolina Panthers. And
William, I agree with you 100%. That's why I unmuted myself, because it's like, you know what does not give competition? And it's like, it goes back to the unfair treatment of players. Yeah. It's like they had Shedeur Sanders thrown in trash cans. They had some of these young guys on other teams just, out there somewhere, different fields, not playing, just sitting around. I saw one guy a couple years ago get another guy's water during practice. It's like, how is that promoting competition? How is any of that promoting competition? How is that making anybody better? And it's like, I don't care that the guy doesn't play if the guy's not good enough, but if you are not promoting the spirit of competition, then what the hell is the point? Why are you a coach? Why are you in this business? Because the spirit of competition is really what matters. So what's the deal?
Yeah, and that's why so much goes into these picks, and so much, happen. So many people see things so many different ways, scouts do. And whether they like this player because all they like is big 6'5" prototypical quarterbacks, or whether someone like Bryce Young is better than CJ Stroud. But we found out that wasn't the case. But that's neither here nor there. It's one of those things where you just have to look at it and hope that, maybe a lot of these guys hope, but I'm not into hoping. I'm just very, very confident in my evaluations to the point. But I mean,
Yeah, and I'm glad you are, because some of our best debates on here have been when you and I have differing opinions, but we're both really confident in just the scouting, not the arguing, and we're able to talk about that. And to your point, it's like I didn't like how they treated Bryce Young here I think it was 2 years ago. I mean, I thought they treated him like trash. He was the number one overall pick, and 2 years later, you're saying no, you go over here, and it's like, dude, why? It doesn't make sense to me. If you're investing money in somebody, just let them compete. If you're investing and they got potential, let them go. Just, they don't have to win.
On the contrary, what about all these players that are falling through the cracks? Players like Rocky Lombardi, that come in there. If he would have been invited to the scouting combine, he would have been the number 2 overall athlete at quarterback.
Yeah, and who's that receiver from North Dakota State this year? North Dakota State.
I took Bryce Lance. I took him in the group mock. Bryce Lance, he's gone.
Yes. I love him. And yet everybody's dismissing him and not giving him a chance. Why? Because his brother was a freaking bust?
Okay, yeah.
He's the best route runner, Joey. The thing with Bryce Lance is he's the best route runner North Dakota State's had since Christian Watson. That's why I snagged him at 125 in the group mock.
I said to myself, with watching Trey Lance on film, this guy should be a tight end or wide receiver. But I knew he wasn't tough enough to be a tight end. But then, here's his little brother coming out, and it's like, maybe I can get behind this, because it takes a whole different animal to play quarterback than it does wide receiver. And I really like what I see from Bryce Lance, and I don't hold anything against him, and I'm the Niners fan here that got burnt, had to watch us draft Trey Lance every year in the 3rd round for 3 years. That was terrible. But I don't hold it against his little brother, and I think this is the position that maybe those guys should play, because they are such great athletes. Nothing with Trey Lance, but he's not a very good quarterback, and he gets rattled very easily. But
there's a big difference
might not happen
between
at
Bryce Lance as a prospect and Trey Lance. Bryce Lance is the best route runner since Christian Watson. Trey Lance can only read one progression at North Dakota State, and that was very evident if you watched his college tape. That was very evident.
Very.
One in his +1 year, and I think 2 progressions in his draft year in COVID in a very limited season. So,
What?
Maybe 2, and because remember, 2020, the fall of 2020, North Dakota State only played 2 games that year due to COVID. And the game against Oregon got canceled. If that game doesn't get canceled, if COVID never happens, Trey Lance probably throws 3 picks and plays himself out of the 1st round. COVID-19 is the only reason Trey Lance was a top 3 draft pick. If North Dakota State goes on to play Bo Nix. Bo Nix was not on Oregon at the time, but I think Tyler Shaw was on Oregon at the time. So it would have been Trey Lance versus Tyler Shaw at Oregon. I think Oregon wins, and Trey Lance throws 3 picks against Oregon in that season opener.
I think that very well happens, and Trey Lance just isn't a very good
Trey Lance was a beneficiary of COVID. he is not a top 3 pick if COVID never happens.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe they should have, the word on the street back then was that when they traded up, they wanted Mac Jones. And look who the best quarterback has been for the
Shanahan
Panthers
wanted
out
Mac
of the
Jones,
two.
but Lynch wanted Lance because of the upside.
Yeah, but the upside was apparent. It wasn't there. And I think maybe that's the fact where Shanahan got a little bit more pull in the draft room, you know, because he was absolutely right.
And Lynch was wrong
on the situation, you know, and Shanahan's, he's just, you know, a genius, and Lynch, you know, is a very good player that knows what it takes to play in the NFL. So, I mean, it's a good combination of what they have in that draft room. It was just finding the place that was very, very, very bad what happened with Trey Lance, and can be absolutely looked at as possibly, arguably, the greatest or biggest bust.
Don't care about your draft whiffs, William. If you get a good replacement, people will look past your draft whiffs. Look at the Eagles.
Yeah, but
Carson Wentz. And
we got him on. We got Brock Purdy on the last pick. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, man.
Carson Wentz was a placeholder. He looked like he could be the guy before his injury in year 2, and then he never became the guy. So they draft Hurts to replace him, and they reload. And now it feels like the Eagles are in the exact same point in the timeline they were after they won Super Bowl 52, failed to repeat, and now it feels like they're getting complacent again unless they reload. That's basically where the Eagles are at. They might get to another NFC title, or I don't think they're going to get to another Super Bowl. And I feel like Howie Roseman's going to have to reload this team and light a fire under people's asses in order for them to get another Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, this team is absolutely full of,
because remember, when the Eagles won 52, their number 1 receiver was Alshon Jeffrey. When the Eagles beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 52, Alshon Jeffrey was the Eagles' number 1 receiver.
The Eagles have never had very good luck with the receivers in the draft, you know, going
They've
back.
had insane luck with tight ends. They went from Brent Selleck to Zach Ertz to, Zach Ertz was
Dallas Goedert.
And then they went Dallas Goedert. So they've had insane luck with tight ends. That's really what's kept their Super Bowl window open more than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they've put together a team of, you know, Jalen Carter and players that were following Nolan Smith, you know, absolutely great players, but they've drastically underachieved for who they've had on this team, you know. And then going back to the Niners, you know, I mean, to make up for Lance, you know, we got Brock Purdy with the last.
And I had Purdy as my QB3 in 2020. The day after the 2020 draft ended, I basically said Brock Purdy is better than Trey Lance. Brock Purdy can make 5 reads out of 6. Trey Lance can only make 1. There's a big gap between the two, but nobody wanted to listen to that. People just wanted to gush about Trey Lance's arm. It's like, no, the tape showed Brock Purdy was better.
Daniel Kelly had him at QB2. You know, I had him at QB3. You know, I mean, we all had him that high, and no one else was agreeing with it. And look who ended up being right, you know. And it's one of those things. But now we've obviously got our franchise quarterback. No matter how many people try to say, "Oh, he's just a game manager," yeah, okay, well, whatever. He has stats that
when you get your franchise
crazy.
Quarterback with Mr. Irrelevant, it makes up for trading 3 number 1s away to get Trey Lance.
Yeah,
which is a fireable offense in most situations. But because the Niners got Purdy, both Lynch and Roseman have been able to keep their jobs because they got the guy after failing to get the guy.
Yeah, you know, and maybe that was part of it, was just having that backup, you know, guy to be safe with what they did, with what happened. And obviously we both been to the Super Bowl recently, both teams, and we're still building. We still have a Super Bowl window on both sides. So I mean, obviously, there's something going right in the general manager or in these draft rooms for these teams, So
I'm just letting William and Joey talk about whatever until someone in the chat room's like, "You done with the WNBA picks?" Yeah, that's why I zoomed out on screen share. And since William and Joey are doing such a great job driving the conversation on the show, I'm just letting them talk. I work on the 7-round mock because I'm only on pick 18 of my 7-round mock draft that I do every year. So I'm basically just letting them talk while I focus on the draft because I'm not a great multitasker, but I'm multitasking here because time is of the essence, and it's like, yeah. So I will let
William. I will. You guys have heard me on the podcast say it for years. Potential is just potential. What are you going to do with that potential? So these teams, guess what?
I'm a big
proponent of that
of
potential, and they got to do something with it because these prospects don't raise themselves. It's like It's like if you have a farm. Okay, you're watering your crops and everything. What happens if you let those crops do whatever they want to? They're going to get strangled by weeds. Guess what? They're not going to grow correctly. Heck, you might get termites in them. You might get a termite in a tomato. You don't know that. You're going to have all these different things because you did not properly cultivate them. So potential is just that. It's potential. You can have great potential. But who is going to fertilize the land? Who's going to make it work? Who's going to grow this fruit into a ripe papaya?
Well, that's where culture comes into play. Having culture on a team, and being able to stick those young players in, plug and play them just in case something doesn't go right or there's an injury or what have you, because it just takes one play in the NFL for everything to change. And
I'll go back to college and I'll say, Ohio State's coaches, all of them, not just the head coach, all of them get a bad rap. And I'm like, dude, you look at the NFL draft, who's had more consistent defensive linemen, linebackers, and wide receivers taken over the last 10 years? Might not all be stars, but who's still there? Out of all of them, what team has done it? It's like the Ohio State coaching staff. They've been cultivating talent and potential for years. So where's your culture at? To your point, your culture is in strong soil. And they're creating great crops. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it very well makes sense, and it's how these teams, that don't get to the Super Bowl, still end up drafting at the end of the first round and still end up getting stars. The Ravens are a team that do that. They just haven't gotten that team good enough to win since they had that defense back in.
You could copy draft board to the letter, but if you hire a coach that doesn't hold the players accountable, he lets the inmates run the asylum, and he's not chewing players out the way John Taffer chews out bar owners on bar rescue. He's not chewing the players out when they're swinging up. It's not gonna. You're gonna end up with termites. You're gonna end up with cancer.
Chris, you're an Ohio State super fan, so you're biased.
But that's the reality.
You're an Ohio State super fan. You're biased. You want Ohio State everything to happen. So
Joey,
you're biased.
Joey, I
Ohio
got
State
Anthony Hill
Superfan.
Jr. as my number one middle linebacker. You don't get to play the Bucs card when Anthony Hill Jr. 18, Styles is 26, and I'm an Ohio State superfan. You don't get to call me biased. Okay, that is one example of me being non-biased, and I'm using facts to support my argument.
I
would actually say
in the fact that Zach Jackson was at the combine. He said, looking from afar, he said looking at Sonny Styles, it was almost like he was looking at Myles Garrett because Sonny Styles was so built and so lean.
Well,
and
this
so
is
musky.
the thing.
Well,
The Giants are not. I think they're
I
going
will
to
give
pick
you Sonny
Dallas.
Styles. Well, I'll still give you Sonny Styles. I mean, if Styles looks that good, and then he has all the metrics to play. He is a former safety. He can play pretty much everywhere on the front seven or in the back. I'm like, okay, I'll give you Sonny Styles. I mean, he seems like he's a unicorn. I'll give you him.
well,
What you hear, Joey, is only 10% of the equation. Communication is three things. It's not just what you hear. What the people are saying, the dialogue, that's only 10%. The tone is 30%, and the non-verbal communication, whether that's staring,
I haven't
team
seen him in
meetings,
his underwear, so I can't tell you if it's true or not.
whatever you want it to be.
but the knocks
60%
on
of the
Myles Garrett,
60% of the pie is 30% of
the knocks on Myles Garrett when he was coming out of college was that he wasn't the greatest athlete. You know that he wasn't. You know, it was like Joe Burrow. It was like Joe Burrow.
He had 10 sacks in his plus 1 year and his draft year. That didn't matter. The production outweighed the athletic traits.
Obviously, it didn't matter because look at him now.
Chris, I'm trying to give you credit, Chris. I'm trying to give you credit.
The context was wrong on Myles Garrett.
I'm too stubborn to acknowledge it. It's like,
others.
Yeah, I'm trying to give you credit, and I can't say what Zach Jackson saw because I haven't seen Sonny Styles in his underwear.
And look, I like Sonny Styles as a weak side linebacker, but I don't think he's a Mike linebacker in a 34 defense. And the Giants, I think Harbaugh would rather draft Caleb Downs. But so that's why I've got Caleb Downs, the Giants at 5. I've got Styles to the Cowboys at 12.
Yeah,
and I've got a lot of chaos.
Yeah. The fact state he was a safety. He was, the best linebacker in football. He is a pass rusher. He's great at getting to the ball. I just haven't seen him oiled up.
That's what you're describing from a trade standpoint.
Okay,
that's
we need to oil him up.
Nutshell. That is not Styles, but that's Hill Jr., and that's the media hyping up Styles like he's Hill Jr.
That's actually what I've seen. Now Anthony Hill Jr., I will say, I do love Anthony Hill Jr. too. I love
this linebacker class, Joey. My number 1 linebacker is Jacob Rodriguez, and Anthony Hill Jr. is my number 2 linebacker. But we're going to have a linebacker run in the first round. We're going to have a linebacker run, Joey. Yeah. The Buccaneers love C.J. Allen. The Vikings had a top 30 visit with Anthony Hill Jr. The Lions, I mocked Jacob Rodriguez to the Lions. I think we are going to have a linebacker run.
Yeah,
and it's going to be
a really good linebacker class. I mean, we can sit here and debate linebackers and everything.
It is.
Until the cows come home, because it is a really good class.
And there's not Maui Goa is the only tackle in my top 20. The Miami right tackle is the only tackle in my top 20, and Mendoza's the only quarterback in my first round. That's why linebackers will get pushed into the first round. It normally doesn't happen, but this year's the exception to the rule. And a linebacker just won Defensive Rookie of the Year. So, yes, there's a resurgence at linebacker. It's not permanent, but it's temporary due to the lack of certain players at certain positions,
Yeah,
that's
and it's all comes down to positional value as well. Safety.
Yeah,
notorious.
There's not great positional value at quarterback and left tackle this year. There's great positional value at receiver. There's
Exactly.
good depth at corner,
Exactly.
but not great positional value at corner in round 1. So,
Yeah, and there's a very bad misconception that this wide receiver class, that's coming over from fantasy football, that this wide receiver class isn't up to anything or isn't up to what it is, what it will be next year. But still having Carnell Tate on top and having some of these players, there are so many guys that can sneak up. There are literally 20 receivers that can get drafted in the first couple of rounds, and it's crazy how far some of these guys can sneak up there, and the misconception that they're being told, about some of these guys, to where maybe that quarterback is better. Well, quarterback rules everything, but wide receiver has become one of the most needed positions, and
well,
that's
it's considered tier 3 on the position of it. Only quarterback,
yeah.
tackle, corner, edge rusher, and defensive tackle are considered more important than receivers. And you can debate receivers more important than nose tackle, defensive tackle. You could definitely have that debate because it does.
Agreed.
All right, so
Well,
I'm
like I said,
debating what I want to do with the Panthers at 19 because the best player on my board is Dylan Thieneman, but I don't know if Dylan Thieneman's visited with the Panthers, so that's what I'm looking up right now. I think if they don't want Thieneman, they got to pick a center. They brought back Trayvon Moehrig, but Moehrig was a liability last year, and the only safety that had a top 30 visit with the Panthers is A.J. Halsey, the LSU free safety, who I've got a third-round grade on. But I don't think he'll be there in round 3. So they didn't bring in any centers for workouts either. They lost Austin Corbett, their starting center, and they didn't bring any centers in for workouts either. So I don't know what the hell the Panthers are doing.
I'm not sure the Panthers know what the Panthers are doing.
The Panthers brought in 3 quarterbacks for top 30 visits: Pavia, Haynes King, and Morton. If they drop Pavia or King or Morton, out of those 3, I feel like Morton's the only guy you'd be confident in with the Panthers. You like Pavia,
for sure.
small, and he's got the attitude issues, and then you got Kenny Pickett and Bryce Young having to be role models for him. It's a kind of a dicey situation there.
Yeah, and they have to figure out something, because what happens if Bryce Young gets hurt? I mean, he can come in there and win some games. That's why I had a third-round grade on him, but what if something happens? I mean, who are they going to have in here? At least, we had Brock Purdy, and at least, the Eagles had Jalen Hurts, and all this, but the Panthers don't have anyone, and they're looking at
Jimmy Garoppolo
thing, and they have. Let's not forget to mention that Dave Tepper, is very notorious for sticking his nose where it doesn't belong in draft business.
Well,
Panthers,
here's the thing. They can easily get Jimmy Garoppolo, because Jimmy Garoppolo will not sleep with Dave Tepper's wife. So Jimmy Garoppolo's fair game at this point.
So the only player that's had 2 meetings with the Panthers is Sawyer Robertson, the Baylor quarterback, that I have a 6th-round grade on. That's the only player that's met with the Panthers twice. And he met with them virtually, and he met with them at the Combine. Every player that goes to the Senior Bowl has to interview with all 32 teams. That's part of the requirement. So every player that's at the Senior Bowl should be checked off for the Senior Bowl visit, because the interview, it's separate from a visit, but you still met with the team. So that's 3 for Sawyer Robertson. The person who's doing this visit tracker for the Panthers doesn't have their facts right. So, yeah. I'm looking for a legit match here. Denzel Boston, Jermod McCoy. The Panthers did meet with Jermod McCoy at they had a top 30 visit with Jermod McCoy. Yeah, so the center, they haven't really looked at a center. I feel like center is the Panthers' biggest need, but they haven't really met with anyone at center. They've met with a bunch of guard. Well, they met with Nick Dawkins from Penn State, but I don't even have him getting drafted. I mean, I'm not high on him or Drew Shelton, but at least Shelton's got a shot to get drafted. I don't know if I could say that about Hawkins. That's not any disrespect towards Hawkins. I like Bryce Foster better than the interior line. I mean, on Kansas that the Panthers met with. So I don't know what the hell the Panthers are doing as far as scouting these guys goes.
Yeah, and that's making me wonder because Dan Morgan being the GM, I really like Dan Morgan, and I mean what he did for the team, but obviously there's something going on here, and makes me kind of question how much longer he, or even rather Canales, will be in Carolina.
Yeah. Because I'm looking at the Panthers. I wanted to mock Thieneman there because they brought back Trevon Moehrig, who I thought was good on his rookie deal, but he was awful with the Panthers last year. I mean, Lathan Ransom looked good in relief of Moehrig. So I don't understand the thought process of re-signing Moehrig when you could just draft someone like Dylan Thieneman, upgrade at strong safety on a rookie deal, and reload. I don't understand what the hell the Panthers are doing. They could. I mean, I guess at 19, if Jermod McCoy is there, that probably makes the most sense because I do feel like, as much as I like Chow Smith-Wade, I feel like he's a backup, a really good backup starting at nickel corner. You can move Michael Jackson nickel, and then you'd have another corner to pair with Horn on a rookie deal. So I guess Jermod McCoy logistically would make the most sense at 19 among the players that have met with the Panthers. I mean, that's the thing. I've heard the Rams are looking at Ione, they're looking at KC Conception, and they're looking at Jermod McCoy at 13. And they're looking at Pons, but I ended up mocking Pons to the Rams at 13. So, yeah. And then the Cowboys got Keldrick Falk at 20. But I was sort of torn on the Panthers because I was originally going to give them Logan Jones. Then I was going to give them Thieneman because he's the best player on my board. But they didn't meet with either guy. So... The Panthers, I think the Rams at 13 and the Panthers at 19 are the two hardest teams to accurately predict what they're going to do in the draft, just looking at the top 20. But I could be wrong on that.
I can definitely see why so many of these people are mocking Kenyon Sadiq to him, when
Sadiq was an easy pick to make. I think the Ravens... They have Durham Smythe replacing Isaiah Likely, which is a downgrade in itself, and they never re-signed Kohler on a team-friendly deal. So they're basically saying they let both Kohler and Likely walk. So that implies they could get two tight ends in the draft, because I don't really think highly of Durham Smythe. I would rather have Kohler or Likely than
that
Durham
would be
Smythe.
A place for a tight end like Samarash to go. I mean, he is a very good blocker. He's not very great.
Yeah, but I like Utah's tight end better.
He's a big guy.
But Stanford does have a tight end factory. I'll give you that.
Dallin Bentley, from what I've seen, I don't like him as a receiver, obviously.
But it's funny. The YouTuber basically, I was watching Dallin Bentley on YouTube, and the YouTuber that broke down Bentley said he is a top 5 tight end. He is a complete tight end, and all he did was run streak routes. He's a good blocker, but all he did was run streak routes that entire video. That was on all the big plays, all the receptions he caught. He just ran a streak route. So if you have a corner or safety that dominates in zone coverage, you can neutralize him. If that's all he brings to the table as a receiver or tight end, that's the only route he knows. Yeah. You just play zone coverage on him and he's neutralized. Boom. That's simple.
Yeah. That's one thing that I was so impressed with, when I was evaluating Max Clare, was the fact of how he could get open under zone coverage. He was like a ghost, man. and I see a lot of that with Casey Concepcion. He makes little adjustments to his routes to, with in a timing offense with some of these quarterbacks that might be a problem. I don't see that as so much a deal breaker when it comes to like the 49ers, because Brock Purdy, has just that good improv with him, to be able to go through those little adjustments and still make accurate passes. So I don't see that being a problem here. That's why I like him at Concepcion in round one to my Niners.
I don't think Conception's a round one guy, William. I don't.
I don't
Conception's
think
the
he.
seventh best receiver, but the Rams do have interest in him at 13. If all the top three receivers are gone, Conception is their fourth best receiver. So there's an outside chance.
And he's that
Conception
way
will be
in so many mocks, but it's the point that
I don't care about what so many mocks do. I'm looking at what I see on film. I think Surratt's the fourth best receiver.
I'm not arguing one way or the other on his physical skills or where he is. I'm just saying that he can creep up there. He's one of those receivers. If a coach likes
He's a
him,
wild card. Okay, I'll give you this much, William. He's a wild card.
if a coach likes him enough,
I like Denzel
I'm going
Boston
with teams.
I like Chris Brazzell more. So for me, he's at best he's the seventh best receiver in this draft. At best. But someone could take him, or he could go as high as 13 to the Rams if they take him over a corner and they go with a receiver in round
Well, that's
one.
what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that he's worthy of the first round. I'm just saying that he can sneak up there.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying too. He could sneak up as high as 13, but again, I don't think he goes in the first round.
Well, all these ESPNs and CBSs, they don't watch game film. They just go off of,
ESPN at least sends their scouts to the Senior Bowl, which is more than you could say about CBS. CBS is just...
I'm saying they're all garbage with how they do it. I mean, with how they get things accomplished, they're not us. They're not watching game film. So, and we have to realize that. So...
Yep. When you realize CBS's mock drafts are garbage, you've mastered the science of self-realization. It's a book about garbage. It's a book about monks. A monk gave me this for free.
Okay.
A monk also gave me this book. So some monks on the streets have handed me out books during vacation trips. Monks. Monks apparently like me enough to give me 2 free books. So yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, it's the point that no one gets more than a few of these mock drafts correctly, or a few.
Yes, William, and there's a reason why.
If they watch film,
communication's nonverbal. 30%'s the tone, meaning what teams are saying is
we got all that.
Equation, and you got to figure out what the teams are saying is truthful or if it's bullshit. And sometimes what teams say is bullshit. So
and if they're not watching game film, then they're doing it money wise, along or with just sports media in the whole, which is money wise. So I mean, it's
a team is never going to tell you who they're going to watch film on. And you can never definitively prove who a team's watching film on. That's why
obviously
draft visits, some of them are bullshit. Some of them are just to get a feel on a player.
Or a feel on a different player.
Yeah.
They get a player in there and ask them about their buddy, the other wide receiver, or, this or that. There's so many reasons for these pre-draft visits, and which ones are smoke screens and which ones aren't. I mean, there's every reason that you can list in the book, but obviously when a mock draft ends up with so many players that are busts and so many players that aren't, they obviously aren't watching film. They're obviously doing it some other way, because if they were watching film, they wouldn't have those shitty players up there, and they wouldn't have them that good. That's the point that I'm getting to with all this, and just, it's lying season, man. That's what I call it. I've called it that forever, lying season, because that's all teams do right now.
Yeah, because teams are going to lie about players to make sure the players they want fall to them. That's why what you hear is only 10% of the equation. It
Well,
may
there's
be
even
10% of the equation, but it's only 10%. The tone from the GMs and the press conferences, the coaches, the scouts, the tone's 30%, and the nonverbal communication, the body language cues, the silence, the mutual interest between players and coaches, that's 60% of the equation. And I know John Harbaugh and Caleb Downs have mutual interest in each other. They both want this relationship they had at the Ohio State Pro Day to continue. That's why I've got Caleb Downs to the Giants at 5. And they could take Styles, but I think they're going to take Downs. It's just a gut feeling. And Harbaugh won a Super Bowl, so he has way more pull than Joe showed if he's hell-bent on Caleb Downs being a Giant. It's not like the situation the Niners-Eagles have where they have GMs who've been to the Super Bowl. You've got a Super Bowl winning head coach and the worst GM in the league. So in that dynamic, the coach has more pull if there's a player he wants, especially if that GM's on the brink of getting fired. But yeah, what else do we got to cover here before we sign off? It's 12:43. What's your battery, William and Joey?
Oh, mine's getting down there.
All right.
I'm gonna go plug it in.
You guys want to end now, or do you want to end at 1? We are going to end soon. I just want to get some input before we sign off, because I got a lot to do with the mock. I know William wants to make the picks in the group mock as well.
Yeah, for sure. Probably just
I
call
got
it
nothing left to say, but I did really enjoy the conversation we had about potential and how to develop players. I mean, that was a great conversation. I did enjoy that.
Or as Rex Ryan says, potential is nothing but a fancy French word for you ain't done nothing yet.
Well, I thought according to Rex Ryan, it was a fancy word for I love feet.
Potential means what you can become. That's
what it implies.
It implies, yeah.
That's what it implies.
Rex Ryan implies it is, what do your feet look like, and are you wife material based on them?
Anyway.
Yeah. All right, so that'll do it for Draft Utopia. Next week, 3 streams: a Stanley Cup stream at 9 a.m. with Ron Mott and myself, an NBA playoff stream, and an NFL draft stream where I will try to get as many write-ups in the 257 pick round mock done as possible. I've got the first 18 write-ups finalized, and I wanted to double check something with the Panthers. I'm probably gonna go. I was gonna go Dylan Thieneman. I'm probably gonna go Jermod McCoy to the Panthers at 19 now, which means the Cowboys get Keldrick Falk. The Steelers are gonna get. I think the Steelers are gonna take. I don't know if I'm gonna give I don't know who I'm gonna give the Steelers. I might give them a receiver. Steelers are another one of these wild cards. But yeah, I'll figure that out off the air, and we'll talk later. Thanks.
Later, guys.
Shoot, I'm just trying to find it. All right, here. All right, so I'm going to sign off on TalkShoe. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, we'll be back next week with all that. We've got the Under the Bleachers duel thing next week too. So yeah, yep. Under the Bleachers, we got that on Wednesday, where Ron and I will break down an NFL and NHL prospect, Ron, William, and myself. And then Saturday, we've got a lot of content. So yeah.
Yep, for sure. Thanks, Chris.
TalkShoe just ended on Restream, and yeah, I'm just gonna push the end button here, and that'll be